Okay, Erev Tov. Good evening, everyone. Shalom Aleichem, Gabriel. How are you? Okay, we are going to begin. Please turn me off. Thank you, Andy. Okay, so let's go. Last week we began the third parak of Masechet Berachot, Mi shemeto mutal lefanav, and we spoke about how there's the importance of a mitzvah of a halachot of an onen. Onen is a person whose relative passed away, one of his seven immediate relatives. That means mother, father, brother, sister, spouse, son, daughter. One of those seven relatives passed away. The person is in the status of aninut, onen. We spoke about it a little bit last week. And we spoke about it, onen is patur from all of the mitzvot, positive mitzvot. They don't do any mitzvot. There are some exceptions we spoke about. We spoke about if someone's on a plane or there's certain things, how there are some exceptions. But in generally speaking, onen does not do any mitzvot. Now, as we spoke about that, we had three limitations. I shared this in a voice note earlier today, but essentially our Mishnah says, but what are the first four words of the parak? Mi shemeto mutal lefanav. So the Gemara does, it says, okay, look, let's be precise with our words. It says, Mi shemeto, one who is his dead person or his corpse, which is meaning one of his relative, is lying in front of him. Mutal lefanav is right there in front of him. So let's see what the implications are. It's his relative, but what if it's not his relative? What if someone is simply watching over a dead body? For the person who works for the Chevra Kadisha, there's someone's dead body there. He's guarding it, making sure nothing happens to the body. No animals come around it. But it's not one of his relatives. Does that mean that person is chayav? The answer is no. He's also patur from Shema. When he says misha meto, it's not just meto. It could also be someone that he's watching over the body. Fine. Then we said mutal lefanav. The body is right in front of him. If the body is right in front of him, then he's patur from saying Shema and all of the mitzvot. But what if the body is not in front of him? What if a person is on in and the body's in the other room? Sounds like he's chayav. We say no, that also he's patur. Why? Because mutal lefanav, lying in front of him. Kevan shemutal alav, the Gemara says that when he has that responsibility, kilafanav dami. It's as though the body is there in front of him because it's on his mind. Okay. So now we took our Mishnah that says one whose relative is lying in front of him and says it doesn't have to be his relative, it could be anybody, and that the person is watching over, and it doesn't have to be right in front of him physically. If it's his relative and onen is patur. Then we said, okay, so now it has to be that the person is either watching over the body or it's a relative. But what if it's neither? What if someone is just walking next to a dead body or walking in a cemetery? Is that person allowed to do mitzvot? But we said there's this concept. You remember the pasuk? You learned Mishle? You just happened to see that Mishle that night? That's wild. That's wild. You have a Gemara class, a late night Mishle sesh, and then when you flip the Mishle, it comes to the same Gemara pasuk you quoted in the Gemara. I have a joke about that. Maybe later I'll say. But you remember the pasuk? How does it go? Loeg larash. I mean, someone who mocks a poor person. Cheref osehu is really blaspheming and criticizing the one who created the person. Okay, so here there's a dead person that you're mocking because you come and you wave your tzitzit around that dead person and say, hey, look what I can do, and you can't. That's what the Gemara says. So we said our Mishnah starts off by saying when one's relative is in front of him. We said it doesn't have to be a relative. It could be anyone watching over the body also. And it doesn't have to be right in front of him. It could be a onen, even if the body's not right there. But what about someone who it's not his relative, he's not watching over the body? He's just in a cemetery. We said, yeah, you're right. That also should not be doing any mitzvot. Person should not be wearing tefillin, should not be wearing tzitzit, should not be holding a Torah, should not be speaking Torah. What we said there is that it depends if a person is within Arba Amot, 4 Amot, or outside of Arba Amot. Arba Amot is about, let's say, about less than 6 feet. So if a person is within the 6 feet Arba Amot radius, then they should not have their tzitzit hanging out. We're going to see an example. Should not be wearing tefillin, should not be speaking Torah, should not be holding a Torah. But outside of Arba Amot is allowed. There's a lot of discussions about within a cemetery. We're not going to do the halacha, but I'll just mention that some say that when someone is in a cemetery, it doesn't matter arba amot or not. Cemetery, no mitzvot. Even if you happen to be 8 feet away from the tomb, doesn't matter, no mitzvot. Which also brings me to the question someone asked me, I forgot who, someone asked last week about what about if the person is 6 feet under? So body is buried arba amot under the ground. Doesn't matter. Even within that airspace, within the spot of the grave, it all the way up is an issue. Meaning, even if the person is buried 100 feet on the ground, if we know that there's a body there, we shouldn't be doing mitzvot. That's why in a cemetery, we don't have tefillin. We don't speak divrei Torah. There was an exception, and that is Gemara Masechah Berachot Daf Gimel. David Elamani sent a screenshot where over there it says that we should not be discussing divrei Torah, but if it's for the kavod of the met, if it's for the kavod of the person who passed away, it's okay. I will. There have been many times that I've been put on the spot to give a speech. You know, it's happened on Shabbat. It happened in the Kanisa. It's even happened under the chuppah once. I was under the chuppah, wasn't planning on speaking, and then Rabbi Chaim hands me the mic. I'm like, yeah, no, Sheva Berachot. He's like, no, daber, daber what? What do you want me to daber? Like daber kama milim, 5 dakot. About okay, this is how I started my career. Under the chuppah. My first speech under the maybe it wasn't my first speech, maybe my third or fourth speech under the chuppah was just winging it. I feel bad for the couple, but I guess I got my practice in that way. So anyway, so one of the times that I spoke on the spot was at a funeral, and it was very difficult because it was a situation where the people were burying and it was taking a long time. And then Rabbi Chaim said, Daber. I can't, but I didn't know what to do. But I remembered this halacha that you're allowed to speak divrei Torah if it's for the kavod of the met. So I gave a divrei Torah and I gave a kavod of the met. And it's a very difficult. I don't even know why I'm talking about this right now. But there's like different types of speech, and that was one of my difficult ones. You're allowed to give divrei Torah if it's at a cemetery, even while the kever is open, if it's for the kavod of the met. For example, I speak about tzedakah and say the person did the mitzvah of tzedakah, something like that. Okay. We say Kaddish. Kaddish is a praise of Hashem. It's very good. So it's not necessarily, yeah. Okay. How do we do Kaddish on the grave? Is that not Loeg Larash? Over there, what you're doing is you're first of all, the idea is you're doing it for the Ilui Nishmato. You're doing it for that person. So it's not that you're mocking the person, it's the opposite. You're doing it for the kavod of the person. You're saying it the Ilui Nishmato. So that's one idea. Whereas over here, when someone is coming and wearing a mitzvah of tefillin, wearing tefillin on their arm, the person is not wearing the tefillin for the dead, for the Ilui Nishmato of the dead. The person is wearing tefillin for themselves. So that's exactly this idea. To say Torah by itself, it's an issue, but to say it for the kavod of the dead is allowed. Same thing for the Kaddish. The Kaddish would be the Ilui Nishmato of the dead person. But if someone were to come there, it's a good place, it's a good area, there's a nice breeze. Let's say someone lives next to a cemetery and his AC is broken, so he goes and he sits on a bench in the cemetery. It's not appropriate because it's not for the kavod of the met. Okay, all right. Once we're talking about dead, well, we might as well continue because the next discussion is going to ask us the following question. Are you ready? Question is, do the dead know what's going on in this world? Do they understand? Do they see? Are they here with us? Are they observing? It's a very interesting question. What do you think? What? You say yes, 100%. Okay.
It depends if they're a tzaddik.
Oh,
Said earlier in the Gemara, tzaddik never dies, like not literally, but
ah!
that's what it says. But a rasha is considered dead in this world.
Okay, so very good. So you're saying a tzaddik person is always going to be alive even after this world, and so the tzaddik will know. The dead person, even in this world, has no idea what's flying because the person even in this world is dead. Okay, very good idea, and that's actually something that'll come up in this Gemara. Very good. I like that. How many speeches? Okay, I've given this speech myself. You go to a wedding, and yeah, you say like, I know this person couldn't be here, but you should know they're here. They're with us. They're with us. They're enjoying. They're celebrating. They're dancing up and shamaying as your thing. Like I said, I've said this myself. Is this valid? Based on Gemara Masechet Berachot Daf Yurchet, am I correct by saying this or not? Let's see. Okay, ready? We're going to try to answer this question by going through multiple proofs. Now, as we do this, bear in mind we are entering the world of Agada. Okay, everyone, I want you to please take off your halacha hats. Okay, you're still wearing it. I said take it off. Take off your halacha hat. Take it off. Put on your Agada hat. We are not in the world of halacha anymore. We are going to be in the world of Agada, which means a lot of what we read is not meant to be taken literally. And if you're taking it literally with a halachic analysis, you're wearing the wrong hat. We're entering a new genre. There's a lot of messages, a lot of lessons, and a lot of important parts of Divrei Chazal. This is the words of Chazal. It's important. This is the words of Hashem. This is Emet. But it's not halacha, it's agadah. So we have to keep that in mind as we're proceeding. Okay? You ready? You ready? Buckle up. Keep your arms and legs in the vehicle. Let's go. Share screen. Gufa. All right. Actually, first, we still have some halacha. Sorry, I might have jumped the gun already. Like I told you, I prepare ahead. I don't know where I'm up to. Gufa. First, let's talk about the idea of, this is still halacha, of one who is guarding a body. Hamishamer tamet, afapish eno meto. One who is watching over a body, even though it's not his relative. The person is exempt from fulfilling all positive mitzvot. Tefillah, tefillin, shema, everything, all positive mitzvot. Hayu shenayim. What happens if there are two people that are watching over the dead body? Okay, when we say watching over the dead body, what are we watching over for? Let's say, for example, there's a lot of mice in the area. There's rats in the area. There could be birds in the area. A person is protecting the body to prevent that type of stuff. So if there's one person watching it, stay and focus on this mitzvah. You don't need to do anything else. But what happens if there's two? Okay? This one can watch while the other one is saying shema, and then they could switch spots, and the one that was previously watching could then say shema while the other one is watching. Ben Azai expands that. Hayu ba'im basfina. Let's say they were on a ship, and the body, the corpse, is being transported on the ship. And let's say they were taking the body from one place to another place to bury it, and there were two people guarding it. Sorry, or even one person. Manicho bizavit zo. One is allowed to leave the body in the corner of the boat, of the ship. Umitpalim shenehem bizavit acheret. And the two people, they don't need to take shifts. They actually can both pray at the same time. So what happens is like this: if the body is on land and there's two people watching, then they take shifts. One person says Shema while the other one watches. The other one says Shema while the other one watches, and it just says Shema, not even Tefillah. But they could quickly say the Shema. However, Ben Azai tells us if it's on a boat, you can just leave the body in the corner. You make sure everything is okay. No one is coming here out of nowhere. And then the two of them could go in the other corner. They're even allowed to pray Amidah, not just Shema, but even Amidah, bizavit acheret, in the other corner. My beinahu. What's the difference between these two opinions? Why is it that on land the first opinion says you take shifts, and Ben Azai is saying on the boat you don't take shifts, you could just leave it? Why is the Ben Azai now say you could just leave it? Ravina says, the question is, do we need to be concerned for mice on boats? On land, of course, you have to be worried about mice, raccoons, something will come up, so you have to watch it. But if you're on a boat, where's the mouse going to come from? Now, one opinion says it's not coming from anywhere, so you don't need to worry about mice, just leave it in the corner. The other one says, what are you talking about? The mouse didn't join the boat when it was in the water. It came from before. It was here the whole time. It was in the dock. It was somewhere before. So you need to be concerned. That's why one of them will say you still need to take shifts. The other one says, no, it's fine. Leave it in the corner. There's no mice here. Go pray in the other corner. Yes, question?
Black plague started from rats, from boats.
The Black Plague started from, okay, the bubonic plague, Black Plague is probably the same thing. Wow, when was that? What year?
1347. Boat came from
1347. When was this written? Way before that. And you see one of the opinions, machloket, but one of the opinions says you have to be worried about rats on the boat also. If only the bubonic plague, they would learn the Talmud, the whole world would have been different. See, they don't learn Gemara, the bubonic, and then they want to know why the Jews didn't get hurt during the bubonic plague.
Because they washed their hands.
They washed their hands, and because they learned Berachot 18A-18B. That's why they learned this stuff. They knew, what are you talking about? Don't let any boats near me. Okay, very good. Yes, question.
Vultures, right? It's like the fun hand.
Very good. So the idea is, yeah, exactly. You could have a bird come down, so the idea is that if they're praying in the corner, they would be able to easily see. It's not like you're going to a different room. It's just you're going to the other side. You'd be able to see if a bird flies in from above and be able to see that. But a mouse would sneak in from under. It's tiny. You wouldn't see it. So how close do you have to be to it? how on guard you have to be to watch it completely. So one opinion says no, you have to be on guard because rats are on the boat. Whereas the other one says like no, it's fine. Nothing small is going to come. If it's going to be something, it's going to be something big, and you'll notice, and then you could send it away. Okay, now we're going to talk about moving bones of someone who passed away, and this could even be, for example, to do a burial. It could also be sometimes there's a concept called likut atzamot. What's it called? There's like a term for it. There you go. There you go. Exhuming. What does that mean? It means, yeah, if someone is buried, digging them up, taking their bones, moving them around. There's a lot of halachic questions about this. What happens if someone, for whatever reason, was buried somewhere, and then afterwards they want to be buried in Eretz Yisrael, right? And at the time, they didn't listen to the wishes of the person because of whatever reason. Maybe they didn't know. Then afterwards, they see he had written in his last will or something that he wanted to be buried in Eretz Yisrael. Are you allowed to exhume him, as you said, to take the body? Right, right, exactly. This is what we had. What happened with Yosef. Yosef said, "Don't bury me when you go to Eretz Yisrael. Take me from Egypt into Israel." Very good. Yeah, because that's exactly what happened with him. Or let's say, for example, going to Israel is one question. What about not going to Israel, but going somewhere where family is? Let's say sorry? Very good, exactly. Let's say the people are leaving a certain area because it's not safe anymore, and the family's moving, not even to Israel, but to somewhere else, going from one city to another city, leaving from Iran, going to another country, for example. These are very good questions, not for our discussion, but here what we have is a situation where someone is moving the bones of a dead. Okay? Now, what's going to happen? One is transporting bones from one place to another. Don't do the following. Don't put it in a saddlebag. Disakya, actually, in Aramaic, the way you say two is the same way you say it in Farsi is do or do. It's like many languages. Uno, dos. Or how do you say it in Farsi? Do. Do. In Aramaic, it's do. Same idea. So do sakya is two sacks. Do sakya, where the way you have like a saddlebag of a donkey is, it's a double leather sack that then you saddle onto it so that there's two sacks on each side of the donkey, and then you could sit right on top of it. You guys envisioning what I'm envisioning? Like imagine there's like a leather thing that's a leather flap where the flaps are on the opposite ends. You could put something on this side, put something on this side, fold it onto the donkey. Do sakya. So here's what it says. It says if you're going to be carrying it on a donkey and you're going to put it in this dusakya, the saddlebag, you can't do that and then you ride on top of it. It's okay to put it in the bag to transport, but you can't sit on top of that bag now. And you're sitting on top of the bones. Because it's disgraceful. You're sitting on someone's body. It's disgraceful. However, but if the person is worried because of either Gentiles or highwaymen or some robbers, bandits, meaning, okay, you want me to walk with this donkey? You know how long it's going to take me to walk? I have to get on top of this thing to ride it, and I could get out of here much faster. It's dangerous going out in the middle of the night. It's someone's going to stop me. Just get on this, get out of here. It's to get to safety. If a person is concerned with safety, mutar, in a situation like that, it's okay to sit on the saddlebag that has the bones. And this rule that we just said by the bones, the same is true with someone who's transporting a Sefer Torah. So the Gemara says, hold on, you said two things. You said that you shouldn't do it. You shouldn't sit on the bones. But if it's a dangerous situation, you may. So which one are you saying is the same is true for Torah? Which one of these phrases? If you're talking about the first one, pshita, it's obvious. Mi gara sefer Torah ma'atzamot. Are bones any less than a sefer Torah? Meaning, if you tell me that don't sit on bones because it's disgraceful, obviously you can't sit on a sefer Torah. Well, why would I be able to disgrace? You could sit on a Sefer Torah. Why would I be able to sit on a Sefer Torah? That's obvious. So that's not what it could be. Ela as-Seifa. Rather, it's referring to the Seifa, the second phrase. Seifa is referring to the second one to tell you that even though we don't sit on a Sefer Torah because it's disgraceful, in a situation where one is concerned about their safety, then they would be allowed to. And that's what it says here, as-Seifa. Okay. Here we go. Now we are entering into almost. This is our transition into the Agadata, okay? This is our transition. Amar Rachava, Amar Rav Yehuda. Kol haro'eh hamet ve'eno melavehu. If someone sees a dead body and does not escort him to the funeral. By the way, this word milaveu comes from the word levaya. You know what a levaya is? It's the escorting the body to its final spot, to its kever. It's a tremendous mitzvah to go to a levaya and to escort the body. Do they still bring the body to Kanistan now, or they just meet there? They used to. They still do. Yeah. They don't do that here anymore, do they? I don't know. Someone on the Zoom know. I think we definitely used to, but I think after COVID, what they say is they just meet there. They don't bring the body to 54 anymore, and then go all together. But they meet there, and the family identifies there. They identify. They identify there.
They do it.
They identify at the cemetery. They do that. Family goes forward and does it there. Anyway, but there's this idea of like escorting I'm sorry, this is like a morbid topic, but this is what the Gemara is talking about.
Is that halacha how you identify?
No. Kol haro'eh hamet eino melavehu. When someone sees a dead body and doesn't escort the body and says, okay, whatever, over mishum lo'eg larash cheref osehu. This person is transgressing against the same pasuk of lo'eg larash. You're mocking the dead. Cheref osehu. He who gives to the poor. What is it? He who mocks the poor blasphemes his creator. V'im hilvahu mascharo. What is the reward of one who does go to a levaya and escorts the dead to its the burial? Amar Rav Aser says, Alav HaKatuv Omer, the pasuk says in reference to this person, Malveh Hashem chonen dal, u'mechabedo chonen evyon. This is a pasuk in Mishleh. Maybe you're going to learn it tonight. No, you're probably not going to learn it tonight because it's behind. It's earlier on. But actually, no, you might. It's in chapter Yutet. Yeah, maybe you're gonna do it tonight. So that would be 2 for 2. That would be sick. Okay, Malveh Hashem chonen dal. What is this pasuk? That the pasuk literally means Malveh Hashem chonen dal. One who gives a loan to God. How can you give a loan to God? Chonen dal, by being having mercy and gracious to the poor. In other words, when a person gives something to the poor, it's like you're giving a loan to Ribono Shel Olam. It's like this is what the pasuk says: giving to the poor and supporting the poor and giving respect to the poor is like giving a loan to Hashem. Umechabedo, one who honors the poor, chonen, or mechabedo, how is it that one honors Hashem? Chonen evyon. Same idea, being gracious to the poor. So this pasuk says that malveh Hashem chonen dal. One who supports the poor is and malveh and gives him a loan is really giving a loan to Hashem. But here the word malveh sounds like milaveh. Milaveh is like milaveh means to escort. It comes from the same word of milaveh malka. What's milaveh malka that we have on Saturday nights? You're escorting the Shabbat queen out. You're having your escorting your finale. So that's why it's called milaveh malka. The queen that we just had, Shabbat malketa. Shabbat is our queen. Shabbat malka. After Shabbat, you're milaveh malka. You're sending it out home. Same idea. Milaveh Hashem chonen dal. Then what is this? The way that so one who goes to a levaya of someone who is dead, that is like really doing a levaya for Hashem. Okay, same idea. One who honors the dead is really honoring Hashem. Okay, yes.
What does escort mean? That just means going to the burial?
Yeah. It means going to the burial, coming with the body. It doesn't have to be all the way until the end, but it's part of the process. We've spoken about it, how what they do is they go to the Bet HaKbarot and then they take the body from the car and then they go a few steps and then they stop and then they take it up and they go a few steps and they stop and they take it a few steps and they stop. That process, being part of it, or not even necessarily having to carry the body, but coming along with it. I remember once I couldn't go to a levaya. I couldn't go to the cemetery. I had to go to work. But what I did was, it was a time when the body was coming to 54. And I remember I was just walking behind the car. Just for a little bit, I was walking behind the car. And then the person who passed away, the person's daughter afterwards said, because they were driving behind the car, and they said, I saw what you did for my father, and it meant so much to me. So this is like an idea, but I didn't really do anything. I just walked next to the car, but it was my way of escorting the body, of doing my levaya, of escorting the body, and it meant a lot to the daughter. Really, what did I do? I just walked. But that's like showing kavod, showing milaveh, how we're gonna miss you and we're escorting you out. Okay, so it's a tremendous mitzvah to go to the levaya and to be part of that. Okay. Here we go. Let's have some fun. Okay, now that's it. Okay, we have entered into the world of Agadah. Rabbi Chia, Rabbi Yonatan. There were two rabbis. Two rabbis walk into a cemetery. One is named Rabbi Chia, one is Rabbi Yonatan. They're walking in a cemetery. Remember the names because the name is going to matter. One of them is Rabbi Chia and one is Rabbi Yonatan. Hava kashadia techelta de Rabbi Yonatan. Rabbi Yonatan's techelet, which means his sisit strings, were swinging out. And as they were swinging, they were hitting the stones, the tombstones, the graves. Okay, his sisit were hanging out, really long sisit, and it was hitting the things. It was swinging around. Rabbi Chia, and this was Rabbi Yonatan's sisit. So Rabbi Chia, Amar le Rabbi Chia says to him, Daliel, lift it. What are you letting it hang on the floor? Kidei shelo yemru, we don't want them to say, Lemachar ba'im etzlenu ve'achshav mecharfin otanu. They don't want us to say, tomorrow these guys are going to join us, and now they're making fun of us. Yeah, one day there'll be a time when you'll be down here also. So don't do that, is what Rabbi Chia. Rabbi Chia says, Rabbi Yonatan, you're disgracing them. They're going to say, oh, you're mocking us. They're going to say, tomorrow they're going to be here also, and they're making fun of us right now. So that's why Rabbi Chia was very sensitive to this. Rabbi Chia said, they're going to feel it. They're going to feel the pain. Remember, Rabbi Chia was concerned about what the dead will feel and says, don't let your sisit hang out. Okay? What did Rabbi Yonatan respond? Amrale, he says to him, pretty rational response. Kulehai, what, you think they know what's going on? They're dead. Okay, just like practically speaking, someone is walking in a cemetery and the sisit hangs onto the thing. You think it affects the other person? The person's dead. Do they really know? That actually he's going to say a pasuk from Kohelet. The pasuk from Kohelet says, "V'hametim enam yodim me'uma." The dead don't know anything. The dead don't know. So it's not just a rational idea, but he has a pasuk in Kohelet. It says the dead don't know. So Amar Leir, Bechia says, sharp. You're going to bring me a pasuk to tell me this idea that the dead don't know? Im karita, okay, if you read it once, lo shanita, you didn't read it a second time. Im shanita, and if you tell me, you even read it twice, lo shilashta, I know you didn't read it a third time. Im shilashta, and if you're going to tell me you read it 3 times, lo pereshulacha, it wasn't explained to you the right way. Which means, it must have been you looked at this quickly and you didn't really look into the commentaries to understand what this pasuk means. When the pasuk says that the dead don't know anything, the first half of the pasuk actually says something else. Ki achayim yodim sheyamutu. Those who are alive know that they will die. Elu tzadikim shebemitatan nikre'u chayim. This is referring to the righteous people that are considered living even in their death. This is what Jaden just told us. Tzadikim afilu bemitatan nikre'u chayim. Dead, even the righteous people are always called alive. They're always called living. Okay? So he's going to explain to us what this pasuk means. The pasuk says that the dead don't know anything. What he's going to do is he's going to say that's not referring to actually dead people. That's referring to Rishaim. Rishaim have no idea what's important in life. They're dead spiritually because they're Rishaim, and they don't know anything because they don't know that this is not the proper way of acting. They don't know that tomorrow they're not going to be here anymore. That they only have this chance to act. So he's going to explain the pasuk that way. But while he's doing it, he wants to teach us this concept that tzaddikim, even when they're in their death, they're considered living. Tzaddikim afilu mitatani kreu chayim, and we're going to speak about this a little bit. He's going to quote a pasuk. Here we go. Shneimar, as the pasuk says, Uvnayahu ben Yehoyada Benayahu ben Yehoyada was the name of a person. His father's name, Benayahu's father was named Ben Yehoyada. Ben Ish Chai, he's the son of the living man. Rav Pe'alim, he was, how do they translate Rav Pe'alim? Sorry? Men of a lot of achievements, Mikab from the city, from the area of Kabsa'el, right? They translate it as Benayahu, the son of Yehoyada, the son of Ben Ishchai, son of a living man, from Kabsa'el, who had done mighty deeds. Rav Pe'alim has done many mighty deeds. Asher hika shnei Ariel Moab, he struck the two leaders of Moab. And he went down and he struck a lion in the pit on a snowy day. Okay, so let's just talk about this. There's a pasuk is talking about Benayahu. Benayahu ben Yehoyada. Yehoyada, where we said that he was the Nasi of the Sanhedrin. He was the number one. He was a Talmid Chacham. He was the leader. He was one of the ones. The time with David HaMelech, I remember. I believe we quoted him earlier. Benayahu ben Yehoyada ben Ishchai. Benayahu is referred to as the son of a living man. So that's what we're going to pick up on. What do you mean, son of a living man? Okay, we're going to talk about that. But as we say that, we continue to describe him as Rav Pe'alim, one who has a lot of actions, Mikabsa'el, from the area of Kabsa'el. That's where he's from. He struck two leaders of Moab, and he also went down on a snowy day to a pit and struck a lion. Whatever this pasuk means in context, we're not going to take it out of context and teach it what it means in what we're trying to do here. We're turning the daf to Yud Chen Amud Bet. Ben Ishchai. It says he's the son of a living man. What does that mean? Of course, he was the son of a living man. When he became his son, the father must have been living. That's how they're saying it. Atukule ama b'nei meteninu. Is everyone else in the world son of dead men? That one. Oh, his dad is alive. There's many people that are like that. So that's not a unique way to describe someone. So why does it refer to his father as a living man? Ela ben ishchai she'afil b'mitato karui chai. Because even in his death, he's alive. His father was dead, but he was called a living man because of all of the accomplishments. He was the Nasi of the Sanhedrin. He was a Talmid Chacham. So since he was a Tzaddik, he was called living. Okay. Now we're just going to continue explaining this pasuk. Rav Pe'alim Kabsa'el. He did a lot of actions from Kabsa'el. We're going to play with the words. Sheriba v'kibetz. Riba means he did a lot. Kibetz means he gathered. Po'alim Torah. Actions for Torah. He accumulated and gathered many people, workers, toward the Torah. So this Benayahu, what you're doing is you're taking this pasuk and you're describing it, not telling you details of where he's actually from or who his father actually was. But it says Ben Ishchai means his father was a tzaddik, because his father is alive even though he's dead. And it says Mekabtzel Rav Pe'alim. It doesn't mean that he did a lot. It means that he gathered a lot of people toward Torah, meaning he was a Torah teacher. And then it says that he struck two leaders in Moab. What is that referring to? Ariel ben Moab. He struck two leaders in Moab. The two leaders is referring to the two Batei Mikdash. And he was such a man of great stature that there was no one like him, both in the first temple and the second temple. It's again saying how great he was, that he was able to strike anyone in comparison in the first Beit HaMikdash, the second Beit HaMikdash. That's how big of a tzaddik he was. And the yarad vehikat ari betoch habor b'yom hashalag. And what does it mean that he went and he struck a lion on a snowy day? There's two explanations. Ika de amri. Some say the tabar gizizeh the bardav unchat the tabar. He went to the mikveh on an icy day. He broke through the ice, and he didn't break a lion in the pit, but he broke through the ice and he dunked himself inside a freezing mikveh. That's one explanation. That he learned the most complicated book, the book of Sifra, which is very complicated. It's like trying to deal with a lion in a snowy day and a winter day. During a short winter day where the day is short, he accomplished so much that he was able to finish the most complicated book, Sfarim. Okay, whatever it is. Where this pasuk, there's a lot here. Obviously, we go through all of it. It's not really what the focus. The focus that we're bringing this for is to say that Benayahu was Ben Ishchai, the son of a living man. Why? Because tzaddikim, tzaddikim even in their death are considered alive. Okay, so going back to our story, what happened? There was Rabbi Chia and Rabbi Yonatan. Rabbi Yonatan's tzitzit was hanging out in a Bet HaKvarot. Rabbi Chia said, put it back in, bring it up. Don't let them see. Why? Because they're going to say, tomorrow you're joining us, today you're making fun of us. Rabbi Yonatan says, they have no idea what's going on. The Pasuk in Kohelet says, the dead don't know anything. And he says, hold on a second. If you think you understood that, you didn't understand it. That's not what the Pasuk means. When it says the dead don't know anything, it's referring to the Rishaim. Why? Because when the first line, it says the righteous, the living know that they will die. That's referring to the righteous people. They have the perspective of our time here is limited. They know they will die. However, but the dead don't know anything. Any elu rishaim, these are the rishaim that even when they're alive, they're called dead. It's a pasuk referring to Melech Tzidkiyahu, I believe, that during the time there were a lot of rishaim. So he's being called a rasha, and he's also being called a halal. A halal is a corpse. Ve'ata halal, you dead corpse. Rasha, you're a wicked person. So you see how the wicked person is called a dead corpse. The wicked person is dead. Okay? So that's one way you know that a wicked person is dead. How do you know that a Sadiq is called alive? From Ben Ishchai, from that pasuk. Ben Ishchai, son of a living man, because he was a Sadiq. How do you know Rasha, even alive, is dead? From this pasuk in Yechezkel, where it's referring to a living person. It says, Chalal, you're a dead corpse, you Rasha, you wicked person. You see that person, the person is referred to as dead. There's another proof. Alternatively, you can say Mehacha from here. The pasuk in the Torah talking about when someone commits a crime. Let's say a crime that's punishable by death. It says that you need to have witnesses, 2 witnesses or 3 witnesses that saw the crime. So the pasuk here says al pi shnayim edim, according with 2 witnesses, or al pi shlosha edim, or with 3 witnesses, yumat hamed, the dead will die. The Gemara says, what do you mean the dead will die? No, the living criminal will die. It should be yumat hachai. This living person will be killed, will be executed on the word of witnesses. Chayhu, the person is alive. Ela hamet meikara. This person is called dead because of what the person did. The person is a rasha. The person committed a crime. The person committed murder. It's a rasha. So it says, yumat hamet, with the witnesses, you will now kill this dead person. Why is the person a dead person? The person's alive. Oh, because the person's a rasha, the person has a title, is called a dead person. Okay, fine. I know it was a lot, but the main point here is as follows. Rabbi Chia told Rabbi Yonatan, bring your tzitzit up because they feel it. They feel the pain. He says they don't feel it. The pasuk says they don't feel it. He says no, that pasuk is talking about Rishaim, that they have no idea what's going on. But the dead actually feel it. They know what's going on. So remember, I had this opening question. Do the dead know what's going on in this world? Okay. Do the dead know what's going on in this world? Based on this Gemara, you have, maybe it's a machloket between Rabbi Chia and Rabbi Yonatan, but Rabbi Chia feels very strongly that the dead know. And that's why he says when you have your tzitzit in the cemetery, lift it up. Why? Because it's gonna hurt them. It's gonna offend them. Lo eg larash. You're mocking them. What do you mean? They're dead. Yeah, but they feel it. So that's the opinion of Rabbi Chia. Do the dead know what's going on? Yes. They even get offended. They even get hurt. Okay? Let's see the next story. Proof number 1, we just went to. Let's see proof number 2. Bnei Rabbi Chia. Now this. Sorry?
If the dead person is a rasha, he wasn't alive in this world, why would he be alive in the dead? Why would he know what's going on when he's dead?
No. Okay. Okay. So what you're saying is what? You're saying that
righteous, he's alive in this world, he's alive in the next world, so he feels it. If someone's dead in this world, i.e. a rasha in this world, when he's dead, he wasn't alive in this world, why would he be alive in the
so then, yeah. Following this flow of logic, you can say that the dead who are righteous will feel, but the dead who are wicked would not feel, which is what Jaden said. When I asked this question, this was what Jaden said. That's exactly correct. That it's a matter of whether the person lived a righteous life in this world to be able to know what's going on. Yes, question. And then Gabriel, I think you had next. Yes.
Think about the dead being aware of their surroundings. All he's saying is that no, the Rishaim have no idea what's going on in this world, and like they're basically not living. And the Tzaddikim are like full of life, and they know what's going on, and they're aware that they'll die.
Very good.
The dead, it's like all the dead know.
Very good. So we do not have a proof for Rabbi Chia's statement. We have an argument between Rabbi Chia and Rabbi Yonatan, and Rabbi Yonatan actually has a proof based on a verse, and Rabbi Chia rejects the proof. But he doesn't have any proof for himself. We don't have any proof right now that the dead actually understand what's going on. There's no story. It's just a story of Rabbi Chia concerned about the tzitzit, but nothing actually happened yet. So you're absolutely correct. Stay tuned. We're coming to it. Yes. Same. Oh, see, this is what you call shachen tov, or tov tzaddik v'tov l'shcheno. The two of you together, you guys have a telepathy. Okay, here we go. Now we're talking about Rabbi Chia's sons. Okay, Bnei Rabbi Chia nafuk lekiryata. Rabbi Chia's sons had to go out to the city. Why? Because their dad left them a lot of money, Baruch Hashem, real estate, and he had a lot of farms. He had a lot of things going on. So now the sons, their whole life they were studying Torah. Now that dad passed away, someone has to keep the family business going. So what happens? The kids leave the yeshiva to go take care of the business, the family business. If they don't do it, no one's going to do it. So here's what happened. The sons of Rabbi Chia, nafuk lekiryata, they went out to the villages to take care of their business. Iaker lehu talmudahu. So they forgot everything that they're learning. Imagine you're there for 1 month, 2 months, 3 months. It takes a toll. You have Bnei Yeshiva, their whole life they were studying. Now they're going into the business world. It's hard. So havukat mitza'are le'atkure. They couldn't remember. They were starting to forget the things that they were learning. Amar le'echad chavre. So one of the brothers said to the other one, Yada avun b'hai tzara. You think dad knows? You think dad knows our struggles? That we joined the family business, but now we're forgetting our learning and we're in so much pain. Do you think dad knows we're in pain? You know, one night, late night, hard day of work, kicking back, pillow talk. Do you think dad knows what's going on in this world? This was his question. It's a very good question. Do the dead know what's going on in this world? Amar le'idach. The other one says, the one who was answering says, Minayada, how would he know? The pasuk says, Yichvedu vanav v'lo yada. He quotes a pasuk from Eov that says, the sons are struggling, or his sons are honored rather, sorry. The sons are honored, v'lo yada, but the dad doesn't know. So it's interesting. It's the second time you have this story where one person brings up a topic and the other one says, no, he's dead. Look, there's a pasuk that says, whatever the kids are going through, the dad doesn't know what's going on. Okay, so his response is, as they put here in summary, the dead do not know. Amalei idach, but the other one says, "V'lo yada." Really? Is that the case? That dad doesn't know what's going on? V'haketiv, but it says there's a pasuk in Eov that also says, "Ach bisaro alav yichav, v'nafsho alav te'eval." It's a pasuk that talks about someone who is in pain, who has passed away, and shalom eda. Sorry for these morbid thoughts, but this is part of it. When the person is buried, the worms and maggots are eating the body, decomposing the body. And this pasuk is telling us that the person feels the pain of the worms eating at the body. Ach bisaro alav yichav, the body is in pain, v'nafsho alav te'eval, and it's how do they translate it? In his soul does he mourn. V'amar Rabbi Yitzchak says, kasher rimalamet, a maggot to the dead is excruciating, kemachat b'basar chai, like a needle, like stabbing a needle in the flesh of live skin. So the dead feel it. So these two were struggling. They were learning Torah. They're in pain because they're doing the family business. They're keeping the things, but they're losing out on their Torah study. And they say, "You think dad knows?" The other one says, "Well, how would he know? He doesn't know what's going on." The pasuk says what happens to the kids. The father doesn't know. He says, but the pasuk also says that Rabbi Yitzchak taught that they feel pain when a maggot is eating them. Amri, so the other one responded, "You're right. Yeah, they feel the pain of the maggots eating the body, because the maggots are eating the body. But they don't know what's going on in this world. They feel the pain of the body. The nefesh, the neshama, is somewhat attached to the body, that when the body is decomposing, they feel it. But they don't have knowledge of what's going on in this world." Ooh, okay. So we have the second discussion. We had the first discussion was with Rabbi Chia and Rabbi Yonatan. They had this discussion with the tzitzit in the cemetery. The next discussion were the two boys of Rabbi Chia going back and forth about whether dad knows what they're going through. And then over there, the Gemara is concluding, no, they don't know. Now we have number 3. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we are now going into turbo speed. We are going to do one of the most enigmatic, fun, exciting, and misunderstood perhaps stories of Shas. You ready? If you tell someone you learned this story, they're gonna know. Oh yes, this is Mitzvah of Berachot, second parak. Here we go. Tanya, we learned in a Braita. There's a lot to learn from the story, a lot, and I won't be able to go through all of it tonight. But let's see what we could get through. Wow. Page of Chai is about the dead. Maybe that's a proof that really the dead know what's going on. Because they're alive. There you go. There you go. This is the easiest stuff to remember the page. Yeah, it's the easiest one. The discussion about whether the dead understand about what's alive is on the daf of alive. That's amazing. That's amazing, Rama. Okay, very good. That's important. It's important to find these clues. Everyone ready? Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. We learned to write a there was a righteous person, a chassid, not just a tzaddik, but a chassid, a pious person. Shnatan dinar le'ani. He gave a lot of cash, an entire dinar, which is a lot of money, to a poor person. Be'erev Rosh Hashanah. Before Rosh Hashanah, you know how before Rosh Hashanah they come and they say you need to give money to tzedakah. Someone comes. Okay, he gave a lot of tzedakah right before Rosh Hashanah. B'shnei Batzoret. It happened to have been a year of famine, and he gave his last money away. Imagine this. It's a year of famine. There's no food. There's a righteous person, and he gives away his money to a poor person. Viknitatu ishto. So his wife became furious with him. So we don't have any money at home. We don't have any food for the kids. You're going to take your money and you're giving it away to charity? What are you doing? Get out of here. She kicked him out of the house. Not just kicked him to the sofa. It'd be one thing to say, get out of my bed, go to the sofa. Kicked him out of the house. Oof. Okay, so you see, even the times of the Gemara, there was a Shalom Bayit. But what did the husband do? He said, okay, fine. He kicked me out of the house. He doesn't have money to go find a hotel. So he went to sleep in a cemetery. He said, no one's going to bother me there. No one hangs out in the cemetery. He went to a cemetery, lie down, peaceful, calm. And he heard two spirits speaking to each other. There were two spirits of two young girls. One says to her friend, Chaverti, my dear friend, Bo v'nashut ba'olam. By the way Chachamim explained to us, this was the second night of Rosh Hashanah. So the first night of Rosh Hashanah, right before Rosh Hashanah, he gave away his money. Rosh Hashanah, his wife finds out. She says, get out of here. Kicks him out of his house. Second night of Rosh Hashanah, when everyone is dipping their apple in the honey, this chassid is going to the cemetery to go to sleep. So now, on the first day of Rosh Hashanah, there was a lot of decrees passed. It happens on Rosh Hashanah, on this day, there's a decree that's passing throughout the world. So he hears the voices, two voices. And then one of them says, Bo v'nashut ba'olam, let's go throughout the world. V'nishma ma'acharei ha'pargod, we could hear from behind the curtain, we could hear what Ribono Shalom, ma puranut ba'ala olam, what Hashem decided is going to come to this world. Let's go. We have nothing to do here. Let's go hear what decrees Hashem has for the world for this year. Okay, it was Rosh Hashanah, hot off the press. Let's go find out. Okay? Amra leha chaverta. So the one responding says to her friend, Eni yechola, I cannot come with you. She'ani kebora b'machzelet shel kanim. Because I'm buried in a machzelet shel kanim. How do they translate it? A mat of reeds. Normally, a person is buried in tachrichin, in linen shrouds. They didn't have money. This girl that was buried, her family didn't have money. And it seems like reeds you could get up for free off the ground, whatever it is, how it was cheaper. So they buried their daughter, Shalom Edah, they buried their young daughter in a mat of reeds instead of in linen shrouds. And she said, I can't come with you because I'm buried in this. Okay, why can't she come? So I'll give you two answers basically that the Chachamim tell us. One answer, or Chachamim, the commentators say one answer is that even in this spiritual state that they are going around, they look like they're wearing what they wore when they were buried. So if she goes around in this reed shrouds, it's going to be humiliating to her. So she's basically saying, I'm embarrassed. I can't go anywhere. That's one way of saying it. Another way of explaining it is that, I don't know what this means, but the neshama or the nefesh, or the ruach, one of them, some spirits can only leave the body once the body is decomposed. And for the body to decompose, it has to be in these linen shrouds. Since the body was in this reed mat, the body wasn't decomposed, so she was not able to join her friend on this journey to find out what the decrees were. Okay? All right, this is spooky. Yeah. Remember, Rama, you weren't here when I said it. Take off your halacha hat. We're in the Agadah hat. Okay, very good. So far so good. You guys with me? So here he had some shalom bayit. His wife kicked him out of the house. He went. He slept in the cemetery. He hears two girls talking. One of them says, "Hey, let's go find out what happened." She said, "I can't. I'm in reed mat, but you go." So what does she say? Ela lechiat, go, you go. Uma she'at shomat imrili, whatever you hear, tell me. You go, find out what's going on, and then come back and tell me what's going on in the world. Halcha hi v'shata huba'a. So she went, she searched, she listened behind the curtain what decrees were passed for that year, and she came back. So her friend said to her, Chaverti, my dear friend, ma shemat ma'achorei pargot. What did you hear? So Amrala, she said, I'll tell you what I heard. Shemati, I heard about the rain season. Shekol hazorea birviyah rishona barad malkeota. Whoever puts seeds in the ground early in the season, what's going to happen is there's going to be a hailstorm later in the season that's going to destroy everything that was planted. So whoever, there's like a few waves that you plant seeds. You do it in the first, and then you wait a couple of weeks, and you do the next one, and then you wait a couple of weeks, and you do the next one. She said, Hashem made a decree that there's going to be a huge hailstorm at the time that will destroy any vegetation that grows if you planted it during the first wave of planting. So she said, I heard that that's what's going to happen. Okay? Yeah? Question?
They refer to the people that's behind the curtain. Wouldn't they be behind the curtain?
Behind the curtain is where they go to hear from Hashem. Okay, good question. Good question. I don't know. But this is where they got their source of information from. They have to go behind the curtain. Let's wait. When we're done with the story, hopefully I'll try to address some of these details, including that one. Okay. It's a very good question. But she basically said, like, whoever plants the beginning of the season is doomed. Okay? Yeah, question? No. Yoreh and Malkosh are different rains. Early rains and the late rains. Malkeh means to be struck, like Malkut. Same idea. Okay? So, Shamati Shekol Azreya B'Rivya Rishona, whoever plants during that first wave, Barad Malkeh Oto, the hail is going to strike it down and destroy it all. Halahu Vizara B'Rivya Sheniya. So what did he do? He didn't plant in the first wave. He waited. He planted in the second wave. And guess what happened? Shel Kol Ha'olam Kulo Laka, Shelolo Laka. Everyone else, everything that they planted got destroyed, but his did not get destroyed. I believe this is what you call insider trading. He went and he shorted. He found out what's happening with earnings, and he went and he shorted the stock the right before, and everyone else went down and his went up. Okay? This is what happened the first year. He bought the dip. Now, so far so good, because what happened, the poor guy gave tzedakah. He gave tzedakah almost to the point where it hurts. You know, I remember one year, I don't know, Rama, I don't know when this was, but I remember one year, it was before Rosh Hashanah or something, you got up and you gave a speech and you said, you have to give tzedakah so much that it hurts. Do you remember you said this? You were Rabbi Chaim's man. Yeah. So, and you said you have to give it so much that it hurts. So this poor guy gave so much tzedakah that his wife actually made him hurt. Like, she kicked him out of the house. But then what did Ribbono Shel Olam do for him? Give him insider trading information. But this way, when everyone else is struggling, he's the only one that his farm was doing well. He probably made so much money. So from this one mitzvah of tzedakah, his wife kicked him out. He could have said, Hashem, why are you doing this to me? I'm doing a mitzvah and you're hurting me. But really, his wife really gave him an assist to make all the money in the world. Okay? So far, so good. So what would you do next Rosh Hashanah if you were in this position? Second night of Rosh Hashanah next year. Let's go. Lashana Acheret, next year. Halach v'lam v'vetz hakavarot. His wife said, where are you going? He says, no, I just need to get some air. And he left. He went to the cemetery. V'shama otan shtei ruchot shemisaprot zo im zo. So he hears them talking again. Amra chada lechaverta. He hears one saying to the other, Bo v'nashut ba'olam. Let's go search the world. V'nishma ma'acharei ha'pargot. We could hear from behind the curtain. Ma pur anut ba'olam. What Hashem has planned. What were the decrees for the destruction or the suffering that's going to come to the world this year? Amrale chaverti. She says, my friend, lo kach amarti lach. I told you last year. I can't come. I'm buried in a mat of reeds. I can't come. So the commentators ask, what?
A year later.
Yeah. So the commentators ask, why did the girl ask again? It could be because she thought it disintegrated. So what happened? Seems like it didn't disintegrate. Whatever it is, she said, I can't come. So but you go. Go find out what's happening and come tell me. I'm down for some juicy gossip. I just can't come myself. Go. So she went. She heard. She came back. The friend said, Chaverti, what did you hear happening? She said, Shamati. Oh, this time around, it's actually what's going to happen is there's going to be some sort of a plague that comes that will affect only the things that were planted in the second wave. The things that are planted in the first wave, by the time this plague comes, they're already going to be so strong, they'll be fine. It's things that were planted in the second wave that they're not going to make it. So what happened? The guy heard this, the Chassid. Now this year he planted early. Everyone looking based on last year, they had what you call a recency bias. Okay, we're learning a lot of psychology terms here. Recency bias. Since last year, whoever planted early was hurt, so everyone planted late. But this year, this Chassid planted early. So everyone got struck because they all planted later. But he was fine. So what happens? Amar lo ishto, his wife says, hold on a second. How come last year everyone else their field got destroyed, but yours didn't? And this year everyone is struck by plague and you're not. What's going on? Talk to me. Yeah, you can't just accept the fact that now your husband became rich and is taking care of you. But no, you want to know exactly why. So he told her. He told her everything, and that was his demise. That was the end of the story because he told her everything. Amru, the story as this legend goes, Lo hayu yamim mu'atim. It was only a few days later. Ben ishto shel Chasid, shel oto Chasid. There was a huge fight between this woman, this wife of the Chasid, uven ima shel otariba, and the mother of that girl who was buried. So this woman wasn't just fighting with her husband; she also fought with the mom of the girl who was buried in the mat of reeds. Ve'amrala, and in the middle of the discussion, she says, "Lechi ve'arech bitech she kivura b'machsedet shel kanim." You go to the cemetery to your daughter that you buried in this mat of reeds, like this, like she knew what was going on. Okay, how did she know?
Talk to your wife.
Okay, yeah, this lady. She publicly shaming her for exactly publicly shaming her by something that is so humiliating. To say this isn't loeg larash. This is loeg to the living of this woman by humiliating her for what she did for her daughter.
Was also the reason why this happened, because if she wasn't buried in these reeds, then she wouldn't have been able to come back to the cemetery and said the story in front of him.
Very nice. Okay, very good. We're gonna have to come to all of these points in a moment. Very good. Okay, so now after the woman disgraced, derated, really humiliated the woman, Lashana Acheret comes to year 3, Rosh Hashanah night. Now the wife says, go, get out of here, go. And see what you could come back with. Halach velan bebet kavarot. So he goes to the cemetery. V'shama otan ruchot shemisaprot zo im zo. He hears them talking again. Amralech haverti. So she says, my dear friend, bo v'nashut ba'olam v'nishra ma'acharei ha'pagod ma puranut ba'olam. Let's go around behind the curtain to hear what's going on in this world. Amralah. So now the girl says, haverti, my friend, hinichani. Leave me alone. Devarim shebeni lebenech. What we're talking about here Kivar nishmeu ben achayim. Someone is listening. Someone is listening. What does that mean? Alma yadi. It means that they know, the dead know what's going on. Okay, why? Because what must have happened is, how does this girl now know that this chassid was lying down there? It seems like when he was there and quiet, they didn't know. But once he spoke about it with his wife, and then the wife said it to the mom, something happened that she found out. It could be that she heard when he told his wife. It could be that she heard when the wife told the mom, and it could be the mom was crying from pain, and the daughter felt her mom's pain and understood that it's because of something that was a secret that no one knew about, which means that someone hears what we're saying. So because of the pain that the mom was going through, the daughter was, whatever it was, somehow she knew that there was someone in this world listening and that the secrets were being revealed. So now she said, let's not do this anymore. Okay? So the Gemara wants to use this. And I know we want to go through the story, and we're going to go through the story, just some details. But let's just understand the flow. Is this a proof that the dead understand what's going on? Remember, Andrew, before when Rabbi Chia said, hey, don't let your tzitzit hang, there was no proof for it. The next story was the sons of Rabbi Chia, where they were talking about it. There was no proof. Here we have a story. The story is that the dead actually found out something about what's going on in this world. So the Gemara wants to use this as a proof that the dead know what's going on. The Gemara answers, doesn't have to be like that way. Dilma inish acharina shachev ve'azel ve'amar lehu. Not necessarily do they know what's going on in this world. It's possible that someone died. And when someone died and went to this next world, that person told them what's going on. In other words, it's possible that someone died and came and they met and they said, oh, you're wearing the machzela shel kanim. Ooh, that woman humiliated your mother. Such a terrible woman, the way she acted. It was your mother that this happened to. So now this girl finds out from someone who died what's going on in the world, not because she knows what's going on in the world, but because she knows what's going on with the dead. Okay, we have to do a debrief of this story. So yeah, go ahead.
Couldn't have been like the mother went to the child's grave and like the song there, she had to replace it or something. Like it could be that she's aware of her body. Like maybe they went to the grave and did something because of her being told and embarrassed. They went to something.
Yeah, it could be. It could be that she's aware that there was a change to her body, and then she knows that the change. But the thing is, whatever this story was, it sounds like the mom or the parents buried the girl like this in secrecy, right? So she knows that the mom knows. So now if afterwards the mom comes and changes something, it's not necessarily a proof that she knows what's going on in the world. It could be that the mom now had the means to be able to change the burial shrouds. But when someone else found out about it, and she knows it was a secret, so it's like, okay, somehow someone is hearing something. It must be that with the discussions we've had these last few years, someone heard about it, shared it, and then it's coming back to them. Okay, let's talk about a few messages we could take out of this. Just in general, when we study Agadah, there is a very important lens to keep in mind. Are Agadot true? The answer is yes, 100% they're true. But they're not always literal. They're not meant to be taken at face value. Sometimes, yes, they're meant to be taken at face value. Sometimes, no. Okay? And a person has to have the analytic tools to be able to read a story and to see maybe this is actually something that happened. It's possible something like this happened. It's also possible something like this didn't happen. There's a comment I want to share with you two things, and then I want to do some of this analysis of lessons. There is a footnote here about this being in a dream. Footnote 17 that the Maharsha talks about. Maharsha speaks a lot about agadot, about stories. Footnote 17 on 18b2 says, Maharsha expresses disbelief that a pious man, such as Rabbi Yehuda ben Eli, who, the Maharsha says this was Rabbi Yehuda ben Eli, who was very poor. So if you say it was him, but even if you say it was another pious person, he finds he expresses disbelief that this righteous person would spend the night of Rosh Hashanah in a cemetery. The night of Rosh Hashanah, you're sleeping in a cemetery. He therefore, and then what? The second year you go, you do it again, so you could do business things. It's Rosh Hashanah. This isn't a place for you to go. Therefore, he posits that this entire episode in the cemetery, as well as those that follow later in the Gemara, spoiler alert, we have more coming ahead. He says all of them occurred in dreams. Okay, but see the Drashot, Rabbi Yehuda Ibn Shiyub, and also Anaf Yosef, Agaot Te'avetz. Others, they say no, it actually happened. But the Maharsha is of the opinion that this is all dreams. So the stories with this righteous man happened, but he got a fight with his wife, and then let's say he went to the next room to sleep. And then when he slept there, he had this dream. And the next year he wanted to get this dream again, and he had this dream. And so the discussions were real. The conversation with his wife was real, but some of this happened in his dreams. This is one way of explaining it. Other ways of explaining it is there's messages behind this midrash. Let's talk about a few messages. Message number one. What you learn here is the idea of how Hashem works, midah keneged midah. A person gave tzedakah to the point where it hurt him. So what happened? Ribbono shel olam, one way, found a way to give him success in a way that no one else in the world has. Okay? All of a sudden, he fell upon some sort of a secret. Does it have to be that it happened this way? Not necessarily. It could have been that he had someone just come give him a stock tip, and then he just did something, alaki, and then all of a sudden it blew up, and he became very wealthy. You hear about these type of things that something happens like this. This is the message behind it, that there's midah keneged midah. He gave tzedakah, so much so that his wife was upset at him, and look what Ribbono shel olam did. But then, you then learn that if someone humiliates someone else, Hashem takes away all of the bracha. You could have bracha, you could deserve bracha, you could be a chassid and you deserve all of the brachot in the world. But then you go and you humiliate someone else. This is lo'eg larash. This is now, as you said, this is lo'eg larash, where you're mocking someone who is poor, and Ribbono shel olam brings it back. And what happens? Presumably, the next year he wasn't successful. Why? Because of what he did. So there are some ideas here. What Mr. Adalati pointed out was that not only did the woman humiliate the mom, but really the woman was picking on something that made her successful. The very fact that the girl was in a mat of reeds, which is what kept the girl from going around, which is what meant the conversation was going, which is what meant that he was successful. So now you're making fun and you're hurting him, and this is the very thing that helped you, and you're gonna mock it. So again, there's such important lessons here about never to humiliate someone, even someone who is poor. If they buried their daughter in the mat of reeds, it means they didn't have anything. So when this woman goes and humiliates the other one, you could imagine it's two neighbors that are both like poor, and the one is making fun of the other one and says, so what? This person isn't important. This person is important. Takes away all of the bracha. So there's a lot of messages like this to take out. And now it makes sense that the husband goes to the cemetery. Why? Yeah. It could be that. I mean, she went and she would say such a terrible thing that really he was leaving for like Shalom Bayit. He just wanted to get out. Yeah, it could be. I'm not telling you to take Shalom Bayit lessons from this. This is probably not the message to take from this. It's Shalom Bayit. But what the Gemara does want to do is to use this story. By the way, there's a lot more to this. There's a lot more. The Gemara does use this story. The Gemara does use this story to try to explain this connection between the living and the dead. We're not done. There's a few more stories. I just want to end off with one idea, because when we're learning a midrash, there was something that I read this week by a sefer named Shevet Yehuda. Okay? Shevet Yehuda was written by a Sephardic rabbi who was part of the Spanish Inquisition. Yehuda even Berga, I believe his name is. I forgot the exact name. But what happened is that he, in his book, Shevet Yehuda, writes about the discussions that the Christian priests were having with the Jewish scholars during the time of the Spanish Inquisition, when they kicked all of the Jews out. They were having some debates. And one of the debates that the Christians had against the Jews was saying, your Talmud is nonsense. The Bible is good, but your Talmud is nonsense. Why? Let me tell you why. Because there's a story in the Talmud that's a midrash, that's an agadah, and it makes no sense. What does it say? It talks about a rabbi. His name is Rabbi Yonatan ben Uziel. Gemara Maseret Sukkah, and also Bava Batra, says that it's in Sukkah Daf Kavchet, Bava Batra Daf Kuf Lamed Daled, that it says that when Rabbi Yonatan ben Uziel was studying Torah, any bird that was flying above him would burn. So what the Christians would say to the Jews is, this makes zero sense to say that when he's studying Torah, a bird that's on top of him burns. Why? Science. That's not how it works. Fire burns something that is next to. Fire doesn't burn something that's up in the sky. The guy is studying Torah here, over there burns. This is the first question. But second question, fire needs to stay on something. It has to be on a wick. What was on fire? His head was on fire. So you're telling me that your rabbi, his head was on, the Midrash says, his head is on fire, shooting a fire straight from the sky, just shooting fire things. This is your Gemara, is all nonsense. What the Shevet Yehuda says, the rabbis responded saying, you don't understand the Gemara, you don't understand the Agadah. You're taking it literally, you're taking it at face value. You are interpreting it the wrong way, and then you say it doesn't make sense. It's not that it doesn't make sense, it makes sense. You don't understand it. What does it mean? It means it's referring to any incorrect ways of thinking. That when Rabbi Yonatan ben Uziel was studying Torah, any bird that would fly in, which is referring to an incorrect thought that's coming into his mind, he would eliminate that incorrect thought, which means his way of thinking was so methodical, I think that's a word. He was following a step that he would be able to, methodical, that there was an incorrect thought, get rid of it. Another incorrect thought, get rid of it. Another incorrect thought, get rid of it. And so he would make sure that any birds that would fly in, getting in the way of the proper understanding, he would, meaning his teaching and his studying was so pure that there was no incorrect ways of learning. So this is what the Shevet Yehuda says, that the rabbis said to the Christians who were mocking our Talmud, they're mocking it, and he's saying, what are you mocking? The only thing you're mocking is your own intelligence, because you don't understand what it means. This approach is very important. There's a pasuk in Vayet Hanan that says, the Torah is our wisdom. Ki hi chochmatchem uvinatchem le'enei ha'amim. Nations of the world will look at the Torah and they'll say, it is our wisdom. And what will they say? Rak am chacham v'navon hagoy hagadol hazeh. Look how wise, how discerning these people are. The Rambam says, the Rambam in Hakdama Perek Chalek, the Rambam explains that if someone understands Midrashim literally and takes it at face value and explains it like this, that he shoots up fire and burns it, what's going to happen is the nations of the world will look at us and they won't say, look how wise these people are, Rak am chacham v'navon, but instead they'll say, Rak am sachal v'navala hagoya katan hazeh, the Rambam says. Look at these idiots. They think this, they have myths. They think this is real. And so, okay, why is this important? Because I go back to my question. Is the Agadah true? Yes. You just have to understand it. You have to understand the depth and the meaning behind it. This is the words of Chachamim. This Gemara is the words of Chazal. It's the words of the Tanaim. It's the words of the Amoraim. It's true. Every single word of it is true. You just have to understand what it is. Now, with Agadah, it becomes a little bit more difficult to understand what it is that they're saying. What are the messages they're coming to say? Did this literally happen? Maybe, maybe not. But a person shouldn't look at this and say that, this is nonsense. There's so much of this. Someone was telling me today, about Og Melech HaBashan. Og Melech HaBashan was hanging onto the teva of Noach last week, and then this week he goes and he finds out that Lot is there, and he goes over there, and then he wants to go marry Sarah, and later on, a couple of generations later, he's fighting with Moshe Rabbeinu. Moshe Rabbeinu fights it. This Og Melech HaBashan lived for like 3,000 years. He saw Noach, saw Abraham, saw Sarah, saw Moshe. Yes, it's all midrashim, but don't take it literally. Don't take this character of Og Melech HaBashan that he was in every single thing, and don't start. You have to understand what Chachamim are pointing to, what the messages of Chazal are. Is it true? Yes, you need to understand it. You need to study. You need to see what the Maharsha says. The Maharsha on this topic says it's all a dream. So there you go. The Maharsha is saying, was it true? Yes, it happened in a dream. It happened. It's real, but it's in a dream. So that solves everything. There's other opinions that have another approach. We have to study it. You have to understand that perspective. Again, it's important to understand that all of it is emet, all of it is true. We just need to interpret it in the right way. Okay, so next week we're going to continue with this discussion of whether the Meitim understand what's going on in this world. All right? Azak Baruch, everyone. Have a great week.